Hello, Texas JSA. My name is Kaitlyn Ho, and I am so thrilled to be running for your next governor. When I went to my first convention at Fall State 2019 in Austin, I was really nervous about what to expect. When the moderator first called on me to go in one of my first debates, I remember walking up with my knees literally shaking and my hands were clammy and cold and wet and really disgusting. However, as the convention progressed on, I met people across the state and formed lifelong friendships. And from there, my passion and love for JSA was born. What I love about the junior state is that how it connects the debate and activism part of politics in truly training me and other people across the state to become great civic citizens. As governor, I will broaden JSA's mission in fighting political apathy and bring the engaging aspects of JSA that I experienced back to every single individual. Now, I just wanted to talk about what I wanted to do as governor and also why my experience uniquely equips me to be the best governor ever. So first, my platform is centered on sustainability, growth, and engagement. By sustainability, I mean that every single one of my platform points were specifically crafted for the long term in mind. While I love many of the ideas from all the candidates in previous years, there's always been issues where it's been able to run for 1 year and for the rest of the year or for future years, there hasn't been an effective enforcement mechanism in order to carry the programs out through. In addition to that, for sustainability, I want to make sure that Texas JSA lasts. Now, with the COVID-19 pandemic, I realized as convention coordinator how destructive a few years or even months of chapter inactivity can have on Texas JSA. For example, at Fall State 2019, we had almost 1,000 attendees, I believe, whereas in Fall State 2021, we had 200. Although 200 is an amazing number, obviously my goal for next year as governor is to make Texas JSA as strong as it was, if not stronger, as 2019. Now with sustainability in mind, that leads to my next point, growth. Growth is making sure Texas JSA expands. Now, as many of you guys might not know, Texas JSA isn't just Texas, it also comprises of Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana, except there's currently only one chapter in Louisiana and one chapter in Arkansas, and both of them are not exactly the most active. I'm going to revitalize the expansion department and also rename Texas JSA to become more inclusive of the other states of our state. And in addition, in terms of growth, also focusing on individual chapters and making sure that their presence becomes strong is a key part of my platform. Now, as a current chapter president of a very small chapter, I can understand and relate to the other chapters who don't have as much school funding or backing in going to these conventions. And my platform focuses on bringing that state convention experience back at local chapters and providing state support for chapter held events so that you don't need to spend hundreds of dollars just to attend a convention. And finally, engagement. Now, I kind of alluded to this but in my previous points, but I really want to bring to all the events of amazing events of Texas JSA and National JSA to individual chapters. My platform specifically wants to get the activism, fundraising, debate department agents to help back out the chapters. Now with that, engagement also means interregional competitions, inter-chapter competitions to really from the bottom up build up Texas JSA. Now finally, I just wanted to talk about my experience and what makes me best suited as your next JSA governor. As your current convention coordinator, I have went through the thick and thin with JSA from witnessing, record low attendees at our last year conventions to seeing a huge comeback in Texas JSA. And that experience of stressful times of having those setbacks and fails really makes me a candidate that knows exactly how to deal with failure. In addition, the governor position specifically has to deal with the Council of Governors and National JSA and JSAF, the adult side of JSA. And as convention coordinator, I'm the only candidate that has fully worked with all of those aspects. When you vote for Kaitlyn, you vote for someone with experience and dedication that is proven to know how things work in JSA. My platform is feasible, and I have a great track record. Thus, Texas JSA, I'm so honored to be serving or running for your Texas JSA governor and hope to be serving next year. Remember to go vote Ho.
Hi Texas JSA, my name is Kai Lederer, and I'm really excited to be running to be your next governor. But first and foremost, let's talk about my specific qualifications that I believe make me best suited for this position. Primarily, I currently serve as Director of CIA, or Chapter Internal Affairs, and also as Chapter President of my school, Plano West. Additionally, in the past, I've served as not only a PMC Senator, but also as an FEC agent as well. But what exactly does all of this mean? Because really, it's just a bunch of words. And to answer that question, let's take a look at some of my specific accomplishments. First in CIA. Now, CIA's primary responsibility is fostering productive communication between chapters and cabinet. And I like to think I've done a very good job of doing just that, by not only managing group chats between agents and CPs, but also managing a statewide chapter remind to facilitate the distribution of information. Additionally, in the Senate, I currently hold the record for most pieces of legislation passed, by passing 5 bills and amendments in just 1 calendar year, including a bill to make senatorial elections more fair, balanced, and equitable. And finally, as chapter president, I've succeeded in expanding membership by over 300%, while also boosting engagement with things like activism projects and fundraising initiatives as well. But enough about the past, let's turn our gaze to the future. Now today, in the state's candidate forum, I was asked a very interesting question that is really thought-provoking. And it was something along the lines of this. If elected governor, what would you like to see in Texas JSA in 1 year's time? And my answer was very simple. I want to see more accessibility. Because frankly, right now, all of the benefits that surround Texas JSA are not made available to everyone. In fact, over the course of the past 3 years, Texas JSA has really changed my life. It has helped me develop my love for politics and government, and it has also helped me foster relationships that I will cherish for the rest of my life. All of these opportunities are truly amazing, but the sad reality that we need to face is that those same opportunities are not available to everyone. And as governor, I really want to change that. And this idea of accessibility is at the core and heart of my entire campaign. That's why I've crafted a nearly 70-page platform to do just that. Improve representation, but more importantly, improve accessibility. And this includes a wide variety of policies that do just that, ranging from not only holding chapter president workshops to give CPs the resources and information that they need to thrive in their positions, to also introducing a director of diversity, equity, and inclusion to crack down on truly nasty things like racism, misogyny, and homophobia, to also shortening cabinet applications to make them easier to apply for, while also making sure that everybody has the finances and the transportation to actually attend conventions in the first place. My platform is dedicated to this notion of accessibility. And also, keep in mind that all of these policies have been endorsed by leaders across JSA, ranging from the chapter level to the national level. They recognize that these policies are not only important, but also feasible as well. Importantly, I'm a man of my word. When I say that I'm going to get things done, I am going to get things done. Back when I ran for Senate, I promised that I was going to make elections more equitable for everyone. And I passed 3 pieces of legislation that did just that. It made the election process more transparent for all of Texas JSA. And now, while running for governor, I've made a lot of promises. And fortunately, if elected, I'm going to keep those very promises. I am going to strive day in and day out to actually implement the policies I promised I was going to establish. At the end of the day, not every way is the right way. That I can promise you that the hashtag Kyle style is going to get things done. Hence, I would be beyond honored to have your support in this upcoming election season. And remember, Kyle for Gov. Thank you, and have a great rest of your day.
Hey Texas JSA, I'm Mitsuki and I'm running to be your next Texas JSA Lieutenant Governor. First, a little bit about myself. I am from the Bel Air chapter, which is in the GCR region, and I'm currently serving as the chapter president. Last year I was the chapter historian. Outside of my chapter, I am currently the director of publicity. You've probably seen my department's work on the Texas JSA Instagram. It's been a really fun experience to work with so many amazing people in my department, in all of Cabinet as a whole, and even with JSAers outside of Cabinet. And I hope that our work in this past year has helped you in terms of reminding you of cool events to attend, and also maybe even introducing you to other cool JSAers. So yeah, hopefully we helped a little bit. Why am I running for Lieutenant Governor? One of the things that interests me the most about Texas JSA is the fact that it's student-run. And as someone who can't vote yet because I'm not old enough, voting in previous elections has been a really amazing experience, and I think it would really help me in the future in terms of becoming an informed voter. So as LTG, the LTG's role is to oversee the election process and also to kind of oversee the Senate, which is great because of my interest in the election process and also in representation itself too. So yeah, that's kind of why I decided on LTG instead of a different position. My two biggest goals for Texas JSA next year and every year after is, one, to kind of ensure that Texas JSA remains fair, open, and safe for everyone. My experience personally in Texas JSA has been amazing. The people and the community has been super safe for me and amazing, and I want it to be that way for everyone, so that's why a lot of my policies follow that idea of openness and that open community that embraces everyone in it. My second overarching goal would be to maintain engagement and participation within Texas JSA. I think a lot of chapters, including my own and even the state, have all been hurt by the pandemic. And that's why a lot of my policies and my platform also focus on increasing engagement back to pre-pandemic levels and even exceeding that engagement. And you know, Spring State's coming up pretty soon, and it's the first in-person, fully in-person event that we can finally have again. So hopefully those events will continue. There isn't a life-crushing pandemic once again in the next year or 2 years. And yeah, that's what a lot of my platform focuses on, are those two main goals. So I really hope that you'll consider electing me to be your Lieutenant Governor, and it would be such an honor to serve all of you. Thank you.
Hey JSA, I'm Ferzine Sanjana, and I'm running to be your Speaker of the House for the upcoming Texas JSA elections. So, for those of you who don't know me and aren't an avid stan of my Instagram page, Ferzine for Speaker, which you should go check out right now because it has all my plans, I'm going to give you a little of an introduction of myself. I'm a junior at St. Mary's Hall High School in San Antonio, Texas, which makes me part of the ACR region, and I am the chapter president. Speaking of ACR region, I'm the only ACR state candidate member so far in the elections, so keep that in mind, ACR region. So, I'm going to talk about a little bit of my JSA journey. I started JSA my freshman year, and the first convention I went to was Fall State 2019, which was a fan favorite among many. It was a great convention, and I learned a lot. I learned how to speak up and use my voice more, and Fall State 2019 was where I decided I wanted to pursue JSA more. So, I'm going to give you a little bit of a sneak peek of my campaign candidacy. And instead of doing a little bit of each category, I'm just going to give you the 3 pillars of my candidacy. The 3 pillars of my candidacy are communication, recognition, and outreach. So let's start off with communication. As I've served as an officer in that position, an officer position of my chapter since sophomore year. I was the treasurer sophomore year, and I'm the chapter president junior year. I've seen a lot of the ins and outs of communication towards chapters, especially towards a smaller chapter, which is what my chapter was, not in a major city. So regarding things like transportation and scholarships, it's extremely problematic. Being chapter president this year, I did receive a lot of communication towards the end, but I wasn't even added until the remind until recently. So keeping a clear communication schedule for all chapter presidents, all higher ups, and a method like this is what's going to keep JSA a more functioning and moving organization. If we have more communication towards the upper officers, that leads down towards the members more. So here's some more ideas. A clear communication source, such as GroupMe, where people can ask questions and communication towards CIAs and CPs are given right then and there. Having more communication means more communication within chapters. So cross-chapter things will solve a lot of things like transportation problems and communication errors. You can tell one chapter, hey, did you hear about the scholarship opportunities? And if they haven't heard, that's a great way to know it. So here's another thing. Another one of my pillars is recognition. I believe recognition within the chapters across regions is crucial when running an organization like JSA. Since we mostly meet up 3 to 4 times a year as a convention with all different types of chapters from all different regions, having smaller based recognitions for different chapters on their activism projects or volunteer opportunities or new debating methods that they've learned is a great way to promote JSA and make it more an inviting space. I think talking more an inviting space, one thing I am very, very passionate about is making JSA an inclusive place for people. There's no room for homophobia or racism or any type of inequity ever. JSA should be a safe place for people to learn and express their values, and I hope that as Speaker of the House I can make it that more and more each year. My last pillar is outreach. So taking advantage to the fact that lots of people did dip out of JSA due to COVID, we can use this as a way to start over and make a fresh face for JSA. So one of the main problems we've had because of the dip is outreach, starting out to find new people and since new people are coming in every year to high schools, it's harder to get more outreach. So in a time of COVID, however, in our school, I've doubled the way. We've had more people come in for chapter meetings. We've had more people come in for thought talks and more debate dashes. So with some of my implements and methods that you can find on my Instagram, we can improve the outreach of JSA. So I want to end this off by just saying, vote for Zine for Speaker if you think these ideas are great. And check out my Instagram for Zine for Speaker for more. Vote for Zine for Speaker.
Hi, Texas JSA. My name is Madeline Tsao, and I'm running to be your next Speaker of the House. I began my JSA journey at Jasper High School in the PMC, where during my time as chapter president, we were awarded the 2021 Chapter of the Year. I joined cabinet as an activism agent when I was a sophomore, and now at Plano West Senior High, I currently serve as your Texas Deputy Director of Activism. I was also one of 2 people selected to represent Texas at the Montezuma Leadership Summit for JSAers from around the nation last year. And now I'm running to serve as Speaker of the House to ensure we have a smooth transition back to in-person JSA, as well as retain the lessons we've learned from this past year, priorities such as expanding convention accessibility. Most of all, I'm eager to serve in top-level JSA because I love this state, I love this organization, and I want to make sure we're enacting meaningful change. The first thing to know about my plan for Texas JSA is that I'm very serious about enacting pragmatic, positive change in our state. That's why each and every policy within my platform has been created with great thought. All of them are both progressive as well as realistic. I could give you the typical buzzwords that describe my focus as a candidate, things like transparency, communication, and representation. But I'm sure you've heard those words dozens of times from different people now, so let's talk tangible policies. For example, this starts at the beginning of the year with standardizing the process for transitions of power in our state. The leaders of Texas JSA, from the Big Three to directors to agents, learn a lot during their time in cabinet. But oftentimes these lessons aren't passed down from generation to generation, and we find ourselves repeating the same mistakes. Thus, we should introduce reforms such as creating crash course documents, involving deputy directors in the transition process, and establishing a transitional CABCON between new and old leadership. Additionally, at the state level, I'm a huge proponent of implementing cabinet application feedback. Rejections are discouraging for a lot of people, and in every cycle, we're turning away many qualified applicants. As a member of the Big Three, I would make this change the minute I enter office in a new cycle of applications, personally including feedback for director applicants and ensuring that new directors do the same for their agents. Finally, I believe in reducing bureaucracy within our state and focusing on equipping smaller chapters with the tools they need to succeed. Things such as revitalizing regional social media, facilitating sister chapter pairings up to engagement, and making conventions more accessible by compiling transportation resources and supporting CPs of these smaller chapters. To put it simply, I know what my top priorities as speaker would be, and this clear vision ensures I won't be a sitting duck if voted into office. I want to improve transparency within cabinet, expand accessibility and activism throughout the state, and preside over a productive House of Representatives, not one just passing legislation for the sake of it. In fact, as a former CP and representative in the House myself, I've had hands-on experience with one of the Speaker's main responsibilities, and I have concrete ideas for how to improve the current system. Furthermore, my experiences outside of JSA in debate and nonprofit work have equipped me with the skills to lead our state into the next year. And as a lifelong Dallas Cowboys fan, you'll never have to doubt my loyalty and commitment to the things I dedicate myself to, especially when it comes to JSA. I've committed the past few months of this year to putting together a campaign for the people, and I truly hope that my policies and efforts reflect that. I'd be honored to have your vote this coming week, and if you ever feel like you need a little bit more convincing, my texts and DMs are always open. Thanks so much, Texas JSA, and hope to see you at Spring State.
Hey y'all, my name is Brandy Shea, and I hope to represent you as the next Texas JSA Speaker of the House. I'm currently the founding chapter president at the Texas Academy of Math and Science, a PMC senator, and the Texas Director of Fundraising. I got into JSA at Bel Air High School, and at the first meeting that I attended, I was amazed at how encouraging everyone was and immediately fell in love with the perfect blend of humor, research, and competition. From there on, I knew that I wanted to stay involved in JSA, and it all snowballed from there. Here are some reasons why I should be your top choice candidate for Speaker of the House. The first reason is my unwavering dedication to JSA. After my academics, JSA is my number one priority. I've attended 18 conventions, in person and virtual, including 3 PMC chapter cons, 2 winter cons, and more. The second reason is that I'm the only speaker candidate with chapter, regional, and state level experience. At the chapter level, I was elected as Bel Air chapter treasurer, where I led Bel Air to rank first in the state on state classy for the most amount of money raised. I also represented Bel Air in the House of Representatives, and these experience in the HOR is what led me to run for speaker. What makes HOR one of my favorite aspects of JSA is the exchange of diverse views that truly reflect how various backgrounds and upbringings can play into one's perspectives on policy. Then, as TAM's founding chapter president this year, I was able to grow the chapter from nothing to dozens of people by single-handedly hosting monthly debates. Going to the regional level, I am incredibly fortunate to have been elected as PMC Senator this year. I've authored 4 bills that have passed in the Senate and are currently being debated in the HOR, including a bill to allow all tax-paying members, not just those that attend Spring State, to vote. Additionally, I organized the first in-person chapter convention in the last 2 years with over 25 RSVPs. As the only speaker candidate that has both experience in Senate and HOR, I have the most holistic view of the Texas JSA legislative process, equipping me with the expertise to run a more effective HOR so that your ideas can be implemented as policy. At the state cabinet level, I wrote the guide for contacting businesses as fundraising agent and serving as your director of fundraising this year. I've organized 7 statewide fundraisers, including one where Jason had to dye his hair blue and red because we raised more than $200 in less than 4 minutes. In addition, I monitored fundraising for 30 plus chapters statewide by conducting the first statewide chapter fundraising census. The third reason to vote for me is because I have tons, literally 50 pages worth of actionable ideas that I hope to accomplish. My actionable platform focuses on 3 main areas, represented with the acronym 8. A is for accountability. The lack of accountability, especially that I saw this year, held Texas JSA back from seeing our ideas come into fruition and We need to increase accountability so that we can depend on more people to put these initiatives into place. I aim to grow accountability by having the Speaker of the House keep regional leaders accountable by checking in with chapter planning and outlining violations for strikes to keep cabinet accountable. T is for transparency, because it not only bolsters accountability, but it also bridges the gap between chapters, elected officials, and and cabinet so that we can best represent you. This means opening legislature sessions to all of Texas JSA to spectate and reviving 9-week newsletters with updates on cabinet, regional officials, and etc. E is for engagement, which encompasses maximizing the amount of fun at conventions, but it also includes increasing the accessibility of JSA. By sending more feedback forms and having a town hall for each statewide convention, we can get your input so that we can improve your convention experience. I also hope to give additional Texas Convention scholarships, since the current scholarships are only $45, and I want to increase accessibility to these conventions. The last and final reason why you should vote for me as your next speaker is my diverse background from being the only Big 3 candidate that has come from 2 different regions, both the GCR and the PMC, as well as I'm the only speaker candidate that has founded a small chapter at TAMS and led a large chapter at Belair. Coming from different regions and size chapters in Texas JSA allows me to better understand the various struggles that different Texas JSA chapters face so that I can best represent you. In conclusion, because of my incredible dedication to JSA, my leadership experience at every level, my actionable platform, and my unique background, I'm confident that I am prepared to be your next Speaker of the House. Vote Brandy for Speaker for more representation, accountability, transparency, and engagement. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Gabriel Bowe, and I'm currently the Texas JSA State Deputy Director in Fundraising and the Director of Supplementary Events. Now, over the past 2 years, JSA has remained online, but people like Kyle are why so many of us are still so invested in this organization, which is why today I'm so excited to give my nomination to Kyle Lederer as the Texas State Governor. Now, I could go on and on about Kyle's qualification and experience, but I think it's more important that you get to know him as a person. Kyle is one of the hardest workers I've ever met. The past year, when our district almost blocked us from attending Fall State, Kyle was dedicated in his efforts to change that. And it worked. He also listens to people. Kyle is the director of CIA, and I've seen him reach out to JSAers across Texas for input and advice. This proves that if elected as governor, Kyle would make sure that everyone is represented, regardless of their background. I know for a fact that he is beyond dedicated to fostering an inclusive and accepting community for everyone in JSA. Whether it be through his town hall plans or through his proposal to introduce a new director position to oversee equity and inclusion in Texas JSA. Kyle currently has 70 pages in his extensive platform. Wow, that's a lot. But that can be all talk. Yet, I guarantee that if elected, Kyle is the type of person who is going to ensure that every single proposal in that 70-page extensive governor platform is actually implemented. And that's exactly why. Hashtag, we go the Kyle style.
Hello everyone, my name is Ansh. For those of y'all that don't know me, I'm the current Director of Activism for Texas JSA, and I'd like to start off by saying I'm super grateful for Madeline for allowing me to deliver her nomination speech. It's really cool to even provide this small contribution for the great things that she's going to do for Texas JSA in the future. To provide some background, Madeline has been my deputy for this past year, and before that, we've had the opportunity to work with each other as activism agents and just members of the same department. And throughout each of these instances, one thing has remained fundamentally true about her personality and her character. Her mixture of passion and creativity is truly one of a kind. In the past 3 years in this department, I've seen many instances of people being passionate about different ideas and beliefs, but one thing that several people really struggled with was converting that passion and that fire into some sort of tangible, concrete change. This is what really set Madeline so far apart from the rest of the pack. She had this unique ability to create new ideas that could literally fuel the entire department's initiatives for entire conventions. I can recall like so many instances where her originality and unique thought processes really lifted the activities that we decided upon as a department to a whole other level. But you're probably wondering, how do these things connect and sort of relate to a position like Speaker of the House? As Speaker of the House, the values of enthusiasm and individuality are so crucial in leading Texas JSA forward towards new heights. In times where we don't even know if the next convention will be in person or not, adaptability and innovation are so important, and these are requirements that Madeline will undoubtedly be able to fulfill. I can personally guarantee that a vote for Madeline is not only a vote for expanding the bounds of Texas JSA and its capabilities, but also a vote for creating a JSA built upon her roots as a member of the activism department, focused on inclusivity of all people, all issues, and all ideals, change directed by urgency and service to those that need it most. Voting for Madeline is honestly one of the easiest choices that I've ever had to make, and I hope that it will be for you too as well. Thank you, and please vote Madeline Tsao for Speaker of the House.
You know, in a campaign like this, anyone can say and promise anything that they want. But in the end, it's truly character that speaks louder than words. Do we want a leader who won't fold under pressure? A leader who will stand with you every step of the way? Do we want a leader who will confront challenges head-on with a smile on her face? If the answer to any of those questions is yes, then Brandy Shea is our candidate. I've been working with her from the very beginning, as she transformed our once non-existent JSA chapter into a dynamic community of debaters and policy enthusiasts. I saw firsthand the hard work and the sleepless nights she invested into making sure that this chapter was a success, and I know that she can do the same and more for Texas JSA. It's because of her unique tenacity and her character that it's a distinct privilege and an honor for me to nominate Brandy to be our next speaker. This year, Brandy was instrumental in hosting a major chapter convention for the Panhandle Metroplex County. Honestly speaking, from the get-go, I realized it'd be a monstrous task, reserving rooms, taking care of outreach, and coordinating logistics. To say the least, it was a lot to handle. That amount of work would probably have put me off, but for her, it was no big deal. She must have sent at least 20 emails in the week leading up to the big day, and that morning she showed up about 2 hours early to help set up tables, podiums, and chairs. The entire event was a blast, and it was all thanks to her hard work. Of course, Brandy takes this larger-than-life enthusiasm with her to the student body, and it shows. After all, everyone calls her the JSA girl. She always pulls up to school in her JSA quarter zip, telling our peers about her next chapter meeting and inviting them to give a speech or two. This infectious passion is the foundation of our chapter's popularity, and as our speaker, it'll be this passion that carries us into a new year of success. I want a speaker who cares. I want a speaker who listens. I want a speaker who gives it her all and makes you feel like you belong. Brandy Shea will be that speaker, and that's why I'm putting her down on my ballot this year. Thank you.